Something just happened. You saw a title, maybe a thumbnail, and something inside you said, "Watch this." That pull, that specific itch to click on a video about death, no other creature on Earth has it. A lion doesn't do that. A crow, one of the smartest animals alive, will never sit down and ask, "What happens when I stop existing?" But you did. You clicked. And that single click is the entire point of this video. You are the only thing in the known universe watching a video about its own expiration date. You have always known, somewhere in the back of your mind, something quiet whispers, "This will end." You can't afford to think about it, but it never fully goes away. Where did that start? And why does that knowledge, instead of destroying us, seem to be the very thing that built everything we are? To understand this, we have to go back before brains existed, before fear, before thought, to the Cambrian explosion, roughly 540 million years ago. Imagine an ocean full of life, but completely devoid of thought. The Anomalocaris, a terrifying predator, hunts the trilobite. It looks like a war, but it isn't, it's just physics. When the trilobite fails to escape, the signal stops. There's no concept of me dying, no concept of tomorrow, just an eternal present. For hundreds of millions of years, life was a simple equation: eat, reproduce, die. The dinosaurs ran on the same software for 165 million years. A T-Rex feels hunger, a T-Rex mates, but a T-Rex does not stare up at the moon and wonder if it has a soul. Then, 66 million years ago, an asteroid hit the Yucatan Peninsula and deleted the rules. The only survivors were the small, the buried, the adaptable, the mammals. And as they emerged from the ashes, evolution quietly built something new inside their brains: the hippocampus, the organ of memory. For the first time, a living creature could hold the past inside its head, compare it to the present, and start to map what might come next. But memory is dangerous, because if you can remember the past, you can eventually predict the future. And if you can predict the future, you can picture an end. Fast forward 50 million years. The first primates are in the jungle canopies. Their eyes move to the front of their skulls, their brains growing with every generation. For the first time, an animal didn't just react to danger. It felt dread before the danger arrived. But feeling dread is not the same as understanding death. A monkey pulls its hand from fire and learns, but it doesn't sit by the flames wondering if life has meaning. The true leap happened when our ancestors left the trees. Standing on the African savanna, no claws, no fangs, surrounded by cave lions and saber-toothed cats that could see in the dark. To survive, they had to cooperate. They had to warn each other, plan together, share food, mourn together. And to do all of that, they had to understand what the other was feeling. That pressure, sustained over millions of years, built the neocortex, the outer layer of the brain responsible for language, abstract thought, and self-awareness. And with self-awareness came the glitch. The first early human who looked at a fallen companion didn't see meat. They saw a reflection, a being that walked, that laughed, that hunted alongside them just yesterday, and was now nothing. The realization hit: if they stopped, I will stop. I'm going to die. This should have paralyzed us. The anxiety of knowing your own end should have been so overwhelming that we simply went extinct. We can see echoes of this in our closest relatives. An elephant standing over its mother's bones for days, gently touching them with its trunk. A chimpanzee mother carrying her dead infant for weeks, refusing to let go. They feel the loss, they feel the absence, but they lack the language to ask why. Trapped at the edge of consciousness, feeling the weight of death without fully comprehending it. Early humans had the language, and they used it to do something no animal had ever done. They invented a cure for mortality. They invented the afterlife. About 100,000 years ago, at a site called Qafzeh, a group of humans buried their dead, not to hide the body, but placing it carefully, setting a wild boar's jaw in the hands of the deceased, giving gifts to someone who could no longer receive them. Because the human mind, faced with the void, refused to accept it. The brain looked at the body and said, "They haven't disappeared, they've just gone somewhere we can't see yet. We don't know where, but they're not nothing. They can't be nothing." That refusal, that stubborn, beautiful, desperate refusal, is one of the most human things that has ever happened on this planet. Religion wasn't born from ignorance. It was born from survival, the psychological armor required to carry the heaviest burden in the universe, the knowledge of your own end. And once the fear of death was tamed, it became fuel, the engine of everything we ever built. Why do we build walls? To keep out the things that kill us. Why do we invent agriculture? So we don't starve in winter. Why do we invent medicine? To push back against the clock. Every major leap in human history was a desperate rebellion against finality. We created art to leave a mark that outlived our bodies. Cave paintings in southern France, made 30,000 years ago by hands that are now dust, still speaking to us across the void. We built pyramids because the Egyptians believed a mountain of stone would force the gods to remember them. And in 2026, the pattern hasn't changed, just the tools. Billionaires spending billions to upload their minds, to reverse aging, to go to Mars, driven by the exact same dread the first human felt staring at a corpse in the African dirt. The realization of death is the ghost in the machine of all human ambition. Psychologists call this terror management theory, the idea that almost all human behavior is, at its core, motivated by an underlying fear of death, a low-frequency hum running beneath everything we do. For a long time we thought that made us broken. The anxiety, the panic attacks, the existential dread that hits at 3 a.m. But they aren't glitches. They are features. That crushing weight on your chest in the middle of the night, the feeling that time is slipping through your fingers, that the people you love won't be here forever. You're not having a breakdown. You're not broken. You're not weak. You are experiencing the exact same alarm system that kept your ancestors alive for 2 million years. That anxiety made them run from the lion. That dread made them invent the spear. That fear of the dark made them reach into the fire and pull out the flame. The first animal that realized it was going to die didn't curl up and accept its fate. It fought back, and everything it built is still standing. The universe spent 13 billion years forming stars, and billions more creating life that blindly drifted toward warmth without ever asking why. Then, in a tiny corner of a mediocre galaxy, a piece of the universe woke up, looked around, and for the first time in the history of existence, understood that it would not last forever. The price of consciousness is the realization of death, but the reward for realizing death is the ability to truly live. You are the direct descendant of every creature that was afraid enough to survive. Don't waste the time you stole from the void. Every creature that came before you lived and died without ever knowing it was alive. Billions of them, across billions of years. No awareness, no dread, no questions. Just the signal, and then the silence. You got the dread. You got the questions. You got the weight. That's not a flaw in the design. That is the design.